Hello everybody, I am Just a Dude and welcome to the I Am Just a Dude video channel. Today we're going to talk about the Catholic Church, specifically the Pope, the leader of the church, and some alleged things he may or may not have said according to a very normally reputable reporter. But before we get into that, I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel or my BitChute channel. And after you subscribe, especially if you're on YouTube, click that little bell notification so every time I make an upload, you'll get to see it first. Now, be sure when you click that little bell notification on YouTube that after there's a drop-down menu, when you click on the little bell notification, make sure you hit all to make sure you get all the notifications, okay? And if you're on BitChute, if you would be so kind as in order to support this channel and the content that I create, there is a little $ in green right next to the subscription button on BitChute. Any donation would be greatly appreciated, and I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoy the content of these channels. It does take time, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, folks, without any further ado, let's get into this. And it goes like this. Pope's go-to interviewer now claims Francis denies Jesus' bodily resurrection. Wow, if this is actually true, this is huge. This is heresy. Now, this is alleged now, very much alleged. But from the things that I've read, as far as this interviewer is concerned, it's the same interviewer the Pope goes to over and over and over. And this isn't the first controversial thing that this Pope has actually said that brings people of the Catholic faith and believing that he's a good leader into question. And he's never been quite adamant and deliberate about any denials, and especially this one, as we will see. Rome, starting with the article. Rome, November 7th, 2019, from LifeSite News. Pope Francis' favorite Italian interviewer, Scalfari, is now claiming that the Pope told him that Jesus did not have bodily resurrection after his passion and death on the cross, but that the man disappeared and he came forth from the tomb in a semblance of a spirit. Wow. Wow. That's huge. Because the whole fundamental principle of the Christian faith, whether it be Protestant, Catholic, Lutheran, Baptist, whatever it is the fact that Jesus raised his physical body from the dead after he was crucified. And the Pope is basically saying, no, that didn't happen. It was a semblance of a spirit. That's a heretic. That's what heretics say. Because that's the fundamental principle of the Christian faith. That is insane. I can't believe, if this is true, this is insane because you're actually saying that the leader of the Catholic Church, a division or a denomination of Christianity, is basically telling everyone in that church, from top to bottom, that Jesus Christ didn't actually resurrect his body, his physical body, but he just came back in a semblance of a spirit. Wow. And the reason why this is so important and fundamental truths as far as Christianity is concerned is I'm going to hop over here to CNS News, and they actually did the article as well, and I read this one too. But they actually quoted some Bible verses, and this is why it's important that the Pope, if he's saying this, how devastating it could be for the Catholic Church. In the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 24 through 29, it says that after the resurrection, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, remember, doubting Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." That's a very important selection of passage in Scripture that actually contradicts what the Pope is saying. He physically put his finger where he was stabbed in the side. He had Thomas feel his hand where the nails were put, or in his wrist, wherever the case may be. There was another verse here I wanted to share with you from the CNS website. In addition to the gospel teaching about Thomas, John chapter 20, verse 19 through 21 says, On the evening of that resurrection day, the first day of the week, the doors being locked where the disciples were for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were glad when they saw the Lord. So if you're a semblance of the Spirit, as the Pope is proclaiming, okay, a spirit, it's not the same thing. You're showing someone your physical wounds, whether that be the nails in the wrist or the hands or the spear to the side. This is crazy stuff, folks. If the Pope is actually saying this stuff, it is against the basis of Christianity is at stake here. Writing in the Italian daily La Repubblica on Tuesday, Scalfari related that Pope Francis allegedly told him about the resurrection of Jesus. He was a man until he was placed in the tomb by the women who recomposed his body. That night in the tomb, the man disappeared and came forth from the grotto in a semblance of a spirit that met the women and the apostles while still preserving the shadow of the person, and then he definitely disappeared. This is crazy, folks. This is insane if he's saying this. Here's another verse this is something Paul said to the church of Corinth. Now, the bodily resurrection of Christ from the dead is a central tenet of the Christian faith. It's the central tenet. Paul told the Corinthians that if Christ had not been raised, our preaching is useless, and so is your faith. Paul's telling us, if everything that we learned about Jesus being resurrected from the dead isn't true, then everything else is false and our entire faith collapses under itself. Basically, we have a Catholic Pope that says that exact thing, where he's saying he's not bodily raised, it's a semblance of a spirit, therefore, what's the point in believing in anything? And the article continues. Last month, Scalfari claimed that Pope Francis had denied the divinity of Jesus. Scalfari claimed that the Pope conceived Christ as Jesus of Nazareth, a man, not God incarnate. Once incarnated, Jesus ceased to be God and became a man until his death on the cross. So this is part 2. This isn't even just about the resurrection. This is him, the Pope, allegedly saying that Jesus Christ was not God. He was not divine. How did this guy last so long in the Catholic Church? This goes against even their doctrine. If this is true, what happened to the Catholic Church that this is even allowed? How did this guy get to become Pope with this kind of these thoughts, with this logic? Continuing with the article, the journalist continued saying, when I happened to discuss these phrases, Pope Francis told me they are the definite proof of Jesus of Nazareth. Once he became a man, even if he was a man of exceptional virtue, was not God at all. Woo! This is huge. If you're a Catholic, okay, and you're happening to come by this video, you better start talking to your priests or start writing some letters and getting some answers, because I'll tell you what, if this was the guy leading my church, I would be like, what in the world is going on here? In response to the Scalfari interview comments, the Vatican press office to issue a clarification, and it was this, quote, as already stated on other occasions, the words that Dr. Scalfari attributes in quotation marks to the Holy Father during conversations with him cannot be considered as a faithful account of what has actually been said, but rather represent a personal and free interpretation of what he has heard, as in quite evident from what has been written today about the divinity of Jesus Christ. This is a very serious topic, but when you're watching videos and reading a lot of articles and, pay really close attention to politicians, you can kind of get when you're getting the runaround. You know when words are trying to be twisted and kind of confusing, so you really can't get an honest answer. All the press office had to do was come out and say, The Pope adamantly denies these accusations. All these quotes have been taken out of context, are 100% wrong. We absolutely do believe Jesus Christ was raised from the dead in a bodily form and not in this semblance that he's talking about. But they didn't do that. That's what makes this all suspicious. This is what gets people, kind of worked up and not sure about their leader, the Pope. And I'm going to finish up here with the article. Last month, after the claim about Pope Francis' remarks on Christ as Son of God, both Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigato and Cardinal Gerard Mueller called on the Pope to personally address Scalfari's claims. Quote, Christians expect a clear answer from the Pope himself. The thing is too important. It is essential. Yes, I believe that Christ is the Son of God made man, the only Savior and Lord, Archbishop Vigato told LifeSite. Quote, all Christians await this clarification from him, not from others, and by virtue of their baptism, they have a right to have this response. And he's absolutely right. 100% they have a right to the response. They need to know where the leader of the Catholic Church stands. This is fundamental. This is, like I keep saying, if this is true about the Catholic Pope, and he sincerely believes those things that Scalfari said, this is huge. Wow, folks, if you're a Catholic, I am not a Catholic, but if you're a Catholic, I would definitely do some research into this. I would start demanding answers because, in all honesty, if this is what he's saying, this undermines the entire credibility of the Christian church. And if this Pope actually believes this, he needs to get booted out. You need some clarification, like now. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I thought this was really, really, really fascinating. Crazy stuff. It's all alleged because it's just from this guy here, Scalfari. But he's the same guy who says these kind of things, but he keeps getting invited back to interview the Pope over and over again. And this isn't his first go-around with the guy or the first time he said things that are controversial, that quote-unquote the Pope said. So, without any further ado, folks, this is all I have for today. I hope you found this interesting. I know I certainly did. This is huge, not only for the Catholic Church, but for Christianity itself. All right, guys, listen, do me a favor. If you would be so kind, subscribe to either YouTube or BitChute. When you subscribe to YouTube, click that little bell notification. There'll be a drop-down menu. Click on the All selection at the drop-down menu to make sure you get all the latest news and information and all my posts on YouTube. And if you're on BitChute, subscribe to the BitChute channel. And if you'd be so kind, and if you are so inclined, and if you want to support these channels with a donation to help me out, it does take time and energy and effort to create online content. And if you are enjoying it, that would just be a way for you to show your appreciation. And as always, it would be extremely appreciated. All right, guys, listen, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, what do I always say? I say, take care. And until next time, God bless, guys.